All right. Hello, my health freedom loving friends. Misty Karlfeld here with Health Freedom Idaho. And today I was at the Child Protection Legislative Oversight Committee. I wanted to give you some of the, like a little bit of a rundown of what they talked about today and who is on that committee. We have Representative Monks, Representative Wintrow, Representative Moyle, who's a co-chair, Senator Lee, who is also a co-chair, Senator Souza, and Senator Buckner-Webb. Now, I felt like it was an interesting meeting today. There was a lot of things discussed, and it wasn't necessarily medical kidnapping. It was really more about CPS and foster care. And I really just wanted to hear what people had to say and if they were even going to talk about medical kidnapping. But they didn't. That wasn't a topic today. One of the things that was mentioned, Representative Moyle was really talking about guardian ad litems, having more of a say, having a seat at the table. I think it was Senator Lee that mentioned even maybe not having meetings unless the guardian ad litems were there. Now, the guardian ad litem, my understanding, represents the child under age 12. So it's kind of the voice of the child. And they are not paid by the state. Certainly, I would imagine they are influenced by the Department of Health and Welfare, but they're not on the dole. In fact, to my understanding, they're the only ones in the room when they're discussing removal of a child or where the child should go or how the child is doing. The only ones not paid by the department. So you'll find the attorney paid for by the department, the judge paid for by the department, the social workers are paid by the department, right? Everybody's on the dole except for the guardian ad litem. They volunteer. So in theory, they should be less slanted toward the state and more representative of the child. So that made sense to me why they want the guardian ad litem to have a voice more often in these meetings. Let's see. The next thing, which was very troublesome to me, and they're really selling this as the way to prevent children going into foster care, because it didn't seem to be a question as to whether that was a trauma for the child. Removing the child from the home, placing the child into foster care is a trauma. It seemed that everybody agreed on that. But the way they want to prevent that is to have more home visits. So we need to be cognizant of that. We need to be aware of this discussion, and we need to be having a discussion, especially with this committee, but also our representatives. And they had some stats today that talked about more home visits creates less traumas. That means less money on the state, because their theory is if there's less traumas, they're less likely to be abusive, they're less likely to do drugs, they're less likely to go to prison if they don't have these traumas. So you'll hear something called ACEs, and let me see if I can find my notes on that, ACEs. I wrote it down, but I do have 5 pages of notes here. Oh, goodness. ACEs. Okay. So Roger Sherman with Idaho Children's Trust Fund was talking about ACEs, adverse childhood experience and adverse community environments. So he wants more home visiting. Now, the Idaho Children's Trust Fund was set up by the legislature, but the state doesn't fund it. The federal government funds it. So interestingly enough, while we were in Washington, D.C., so was Roger Sherman with Idaho Children's Trust Fund wanting more federal dollars to implement the program of home visits. I didn't hear anybody saying that they didn't think that it was a good idea. In fact, I heard pretty much everybody saying that it was a good idea to have more home visits. So essentially inviting the government into your home and giving up your right to privacy in your home. So that's something to consider, something to think about. I'm not going to go too far into my opinion on that. I think that, each of you probably should think about that for your own homes and your own children, and what that would mean to invite the government into your home to tell you how to do it better, or for them to come in because it's mandated, come into your home and tell you how to parent better. And what if you don't? What if you don't do it the way the government tells you to do it? Will they consider that an adverse event? Right? So that's something to think about. So that was the predominantly talked about, these home visits to help prevent traumas so that we can keep children out of foster care. That's where this is going, okay? Let's see. Idaho Voices for Children was there as well, definitely advocating for more home visits to help, again, to reduce traumas, to keep children out of foster care, because everybody agreed that it was a trauma to have children go into foster care. So they do understand that that's a trauma. But then this gentleman who is John Salina, he's the chairman of the 1st District Citizen Review Panel. Okay, so there's something called a Citizens Review Panel, or CRP, that is supposed to be keeping a citizen's watchful eye over the Health and Welfare Department CPS foster care system, which I really appreciated. So I was interested. I stayed for this whole long 3 hours because I really wanted to hear what the Citizens Review Panel was having to say. That's kind of interesting. John Salina, he is the chairman of the 1st District. He's also a CASA advocate and a supervisor. He's an attorney. He's on all kinds of different boards. And I couldn't help but feel that that's not a regular citizen. You know, he's involved in the system through CASA and these different departments. And I don't know, I didn't feel like maybe he was a regular citizen, a regular voice for the people, because he's kind of in it, right? So interestingly, he's up north in the Coeur d'Alene area, and he was saying that there's not enough there's not enough CPS caseworkers up north, and he felt that maybe the judge too often didn't separate families. So that was kind of interesting for you folks up north who I love, my North Idaho friends. Something to keep in mind, they're definitely looking for more caseworkers, and one of the solutions to that what's her name, Prinz said, yes, Roxanne Prinz, she's with the department. She said they're working with the colleges to help recruit people to be CPS caseworkers, which I thought was interesting. Because I'm not sure. I mean, I have a son who's going to graduate in a few years from college, and I'm not sure that he's going to be best suited to make decisions for families at that point in his life, fresh out of college. So I understand that they have a problem not having enough caseworkers. I'm sure that that's a very difficult and taxing job, but where they're going to be seeking people to come in for that employment is from the colleges, fresh out of college. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I don't know. I don't love it. Just thinking of my own son, I'm like, eh. Okay, so then I think one more thing here is that with the Citizens Review Panel, the CRP, this gal, Shannon McCarthy from District 4, she was explaining that the citizens feel, she's also an attorney, but she didn't have this list of all the things that she's involved in that also are involved with CPS. And I felt more like she was a citizen, speaking as a citizen outside of the department, outside of anything CPS. And she said that they've been frustrated because they can't get access. The department isn't allowing them access to things to help them better understand the system. And is it working? Or certain cases, is it working? So if they don't have access to that information, it's hard for them to really be a citizen's review, right? And I really felt like the committee heard that frustration and really wanted to help give them access to things that would give them more insight into how things are going. I really appreciated that. And again, on the committee is Representative Monks, Representative Wintrow, Representative Moyle, who is a co-chair, Senator Lee is also a co-chair, Senator Souza, and Senator Buckner-Webb. So if you want to have some input into the things that we talked about, or that I'm kind of letting you know about that they talked about today, those would be the people that you want to email or call or get together with and talk to them about what you think about these home visits. And we're seeing that in other states. We're seeing that in bills in other states. So I would expect that this kind of talk will lead to something in a bill requiring home visits. And they'll say that it's in order to help keep kids out of foster care. So you want to think about that. You want to discuss that with them. Maybe see what you need to do to get on one of these citizens. What's it called again? Citizen Review Committee? Or Citizen Review Panel, CRP. Maybe see what you need to do to be on one of these citizen review panel. I think that would be a good idea. Let's get in there and have people, real citizens who are helping to shape what's happening to our children through foster care, and to give some eyes on it and to give a voice to it within the system. As a citizen, how great is that? I think that would be a good idea. I guess when I was in there, it is disheartening that there is a need for foster care, right? That they see this, that there's a need. I don't think foster care is a solution. I've been pretty vocal about that. But the fact that there are families and children that are being abused, and families that don't know how to be families, right? They get in this cycle. They don't know how, they weren't parented well. They don't know how to parent well. Abuse happens, and then it passes it on to more abuse, and then it does continue. And I see that problem. I really, really do. Our families are struggling. Both parents have to work. The children are often left home alone, right? And then they get into trouble, and then foster care has to get involved. It's a bad cycle. The government is not the answer to this. Where's the church? Where's the community? They showed a video of one mom that said, I'm really thankful for this help, because while I have a church and a community within my church, they only give me their opinion. They don't really give me facts, and I don't find that helpful. Now, that was sad. That was sad to me. The church and the citizen, your community, should be involved helping families get on the right track. I don't think the solution is having a government representative come into my home and tell me how to do it better. What do you think? Do you think that's the solution to what we have going on in America and in our families and with our children? I think there's a better way. I don't think this is it. I mean, it's not just my opinion. The stats are showing it, right? And they're right. If they go into foster care, they're more likely to go into prison. But they're saying in this committee that the solution to that is to come into your house before there's an issue. So give that some thought, friends, and I'm sure we'll be revisiting this. This committee plans on meeting again. They're talking about maybe the beginning of February, which also kind of lets me know that maybe something's coming. Maybe something's coming for an Idaho bill as far as coming into people's homes ahead of time to prevent children from going into foster care. So anyway, I would love your thoughts. So please definitely comment, and let's start the discussion. Have a great day, everybody.